Leaders of political parties in Guinea have met with members of the junta that removed President Alpha Conde from power. The meeting was the first of several that the National Committee for Rally and Development formed after the coup over a week ago. CNRD leader Colonel Mamady Doumbouya is expected to engage with all political activists, civil society and international representatives on the political future of Guinea. The military is expected to face more pressure to set a time frame for new elections. This as the first round of transitional talks are continuing in the capital, Conakry. The talks come amid growing concerns over how quickly the junta will give up power to a civilian-led transitional government as called for by regional mediators and the international community. The coup has been cautiously welcomed by other long-time opponents of Conde, including Guinea's most prominent opposition figure, Cellou Dalein Diallo, who lost to the ousted leader in the last three presidential elections. Diallo was among the opposition leaders meeting with the junta on Tuesday at the People's Palace, which was heavily guarded by armed soldiers. The military rulers have also met with the religious leaders. Later on in the week, the junta plans to host leaders from Guinea's mining industry in a bid to reassure foreign companies working in the most vital sector of the country's economy. For more on this, we're now joined by Africa Affairs analyst Izak Khomo. Dr. Khomo, a very good evening to you. Thank you so much for joining us. A warm welcome to the Globe.
Good evening to you folks, and good evening to the listeners too.
A much anticipated meeting, I should add. So what are you anticipating will come out of this meeting?
Well, nothing. Well, I'm lying. But what's really happening is this, that they're actually trying to form a government of unity, a transitional government, which will be made up of maybe the military and civilian and other stakeholders, be it civil society. Now, this is in anticipation to actually going back to the ECOWAS and the international organizations to come and give the whole setup some legitimacy, whereby the most important thing that has got to come out of this is the way forward roadmap to having elections and returning a civilian government. And I think this is the first process towards that goal.
Now, another head of the opposition and the former minister of Alpha Conde's administration said that the military coup was ostensibly to stop the institutional, constitutional coup made by Conde, who had changed the constitution to run for a third term. In as much as the coup has been widely condemned from all sectors, but does he have a point, though?
Well, I don't think so. I mean, to say that basically, if you look at the person who orchestrated and carried out the coup, Mamady Doumbouya, he was a handpicked candidate of Alpha Conde. Mamady was a French legionnaire. In fact, he was a corporal there, or a sergeant. He was a non-commissioned officer. And he had taken part in the overthrow or the arrest of Gbagbo as a French legionnaire, with the French legionnaire. And again, when Alpha Conde brought him into the military, he actually took him up, gave him this post of the post of colonel, and actually tasked him with forming a special forces, which was responsible for all the atrocities that were done in those demonstrations against Alpha Conde's third term. Now, it's very funny to find that a person who cold-bloodedly killed over 800 people today is a person who comes and wants to fight against the inappropriate manner in which Alpha Conde extended his third term. There is much more to it than that. I think Mamady is actually trying to give himself some element of legitimacy.
Now, Dr. Khomo, just looking at the architecture of the parties that are meeting, how likely is it that there will be a smooth transition? I mean, if you look at the religious leaders, the mining bosses, the opposition leaders and the military junta, just looking at the history of the antagonisms between these parties, how likely are Guineans likely to see the smooth transition?
Well, the smooth transition will come out, but the thing does not depend upon the opposition parties, the political parties, the political players. Guinea's most powerful constituency, it's not the political parties, rather it is the civil society. And the civil society, and the group within the civil society, it's the labor unions. The labor civil society, they are very strong. They are that's the constituency which actually stood up to long years of military rule. And Conde actually came and presented himself to the civil society as being a leader, or as being a leader, yes, of human rights, and that's why they accepted him. But there's no leader who can come and be part of that transitional government if he doesn't have the go-ahead from civil society. And that is the biggest meeting which is really needed, and people are going to look at what is going to come out when the military meets civil society.
Let's talk about the coup leader, Colonel Mamady Doumbouya. I mean, let's talk about his political prowess, in as much as the coup has been condemned. But, his action has been widely accepted in some quarters, saying that they were fighting against corruption and poverty, which Alpha Conde had overseen over these years. Will he get the necessary legitimacy? Should he, all the parties decide to vote him to power?
Well, he's tainted, isn't he? I mean to say he's tainted because he and the army were the people who were killing protesters just before the elections. But I mean to say that those people who were victims of Conde's killings, they are happy that Conde has gone. But then it depends upon really what he's going to come up with. There are political analysts who are saying that basically Mamady is nothing but just a proxy of French power.
Yes.
Because before overthrowing Conde, Mamady had actually gone and on unscheduled visit to France, a visit which was not okayed by Conde, the presidency. And it was in that argument as to how he could have gone to France on an official visit to France without the authority of the presidency that he came to overthrow Conde. So you find that somewhere along the line, there is the hand of the French. But there, we cannot say all at once that is the truth. People have got to wait and see what actually comes out from this transitional period.
And the coup leaders have also called on international partners to sort of help them, to intervene and help them towards a smooth transition to power. And I suppose then, if these leaders or if these international bodies decide to help, would it not add, oxygen to the coup itself? The fact that they are helping the coup leaders to come out of a coup to a smoother transition, will it not perhaps give gravitas to the coup itself?
Well, what Mamady is trying to do is trying to take the initiative as far as the way forward. But the ECOWAS and the international organizations have actually laid down conditions. The conditions are that he releases Alpha Conde, and that he actually the military comes up with a roadmap of stepping down. They say that the coup was illegal, and efforts should be made to return civilian government into power. So basically, what he's actually doing is anticipating the demands of the international community and trying to take the initiative by actually calling the international community to assist him.
All right, Izak Khomo, lovely chatting to you, man. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks for having me, mate.
All right, thank you. Well, that was Africa analyst Izak Khomo just commenting on the latest developments coming out of Guinea.